8% back for each thing. I've got one payment now instead of two. It's so much easier, and it took me maybe basically an hour. I just went straight to the website. I applied. They said, you got to send me these documents. I did, and all of a sudden, within a couple of days, I had it all set.
This is how easy they are to work with, always looking for ways to help you and your family. You can find out more on the UCCU mobile banking app or just go to uccu.com/transfer. Utah Community Credit Union. You're going to love where you bank.
Workdays can be unpredictable, but your workwear shouldn't be. With a Cintas Apparel Plus program, you'll have freshly laundered garments for everyone on your team delivered every week. Cintas has workwear for just about any job imaginable, with high-performance fabrics and an uncompromising fit that stretches and moves with you. Don't leave looking and feeling good to chance. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer? Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number Limited Edition smart bed. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. And here's Jason Jones.
Got a couple of cars off to the side of the road, southbound I-15 around Parish Lane. They're not really affecting traffic at this point. In fact, traffic is moving smoothly there. I-15 is looking really good all along the Wasatch Front. In fact, the only real trouble spots that we've got are trying to get into Little Cottonwood Canyon. Wasatch Boulevard is way backed up, as is 9400 South. That's really the real thick part at this point for your commute. The rest of your side streets and highways are looking really good. Mark your calendars for the 10th Annual Salt Lake Off-Road and Outdoor Expo to be held at Mountain America Expo Center, February 28th through March 1st. For tickets and information, visit slorex.com. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll have a high today of 40 degrees with partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow we'll get up to 43, 50 on Sunday. Right now it's 32 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Eye on the Hill 2025 special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, there's a new proposal on Utah's Capitol Hill. We're going to talk about it this morning, right out of the gates. This proposal, Dave, would put to bed older model commercial trucks to help clean up Utah's air as we head into the 2034 Winter Olympic Games, which we are planning to host here in 2034. So it's going to be a big deal. A lot of people coming from all over the world, and our air may or may not be a problem. We know our air gets socked in between those two mountain ranges on either side of Salt Lake County, and we can get that ugly inversion. Well, this proposal, if it gains traction on Capitol Hill and it's approved, it would ban heavy-duty trucks that weigh more than 14,000 pounds and are model year 2009 or older.
Now, initially, when you said heavy-duty trucks, my mind went immediately.
I knew it would.
Ford F-350 HD. You know, crew cab or club cab, whatever it might be. You know, those are enormous trucks. And I thought, are they trying to ban our Ford F-350s? Because that's my dream vehicle. I don't need a Lamborghini. I need a Ford F-350. They all weigh under 14,000 pounds. Unless you put some sort of mod on it that fattens it up.
So you're saying, just real quick, I want to make sure I'm clear in my mind, people who tow boats and such with the vehicle that's parked in their driveway, this would not apply to them.
It's not those.
Okay.
I mean, we're talking about maybe the Ford F550, you know, the ones that weigh 14,000 pounds are not the everyday drivers that we see on the roads. This
would be like maybe a tow truck.
Yeah.
Okay.
A dump truck, a tow truck. Yeah, something along those lines.
So where my mind went is this the move that we're going to make to clean up the air? Because I see those inversions. I've seen them for a long time. They're thick. They're nasty. Do we need a plan that's more robust than 2009 model and older vehicles and 14,000-pound trucks, dump trucks, and also maybe tow trucks. Maybe this is just a first step, but it didn't feel weighty enough to clean up the inversions that I've been breathing in for 35 years. Also, my one here, do we as residents want vehicle bans to be legislated by Capitol Hill? Because this would impact people's livelihoods, right? I mean, there are tow truck companies, there are dump truck companies that move things around.
Big box trucks?
Yeah, big box trucks.
If you have a little side hustle of delivering Amazon packages, those bigger trucks.
So do you worry at all that this would be forcing people to give up the trucks that drive their livelihood?
Absolutely. That's exactly where my mind goes because sure, 14,000 pound, that is not the everyday driver that you and I are running around in. But there are a lot of companies out there that have these larger vehicles, these heavier vehicles to do their job, right? To deliver to construction sites, whatever it might be. So I want to know what protections are there for the businesses. Can they own these, or are you going to ask them to make this huge capital investment, turn in these older trucks in vehicles to buy newer, way more expensive vehicles? Because the one thing about larger, heavy-duty trucks, they don't die at 100,000 miles.
Talk to me a little bit more about that.
These heavy-duty trucks in these super-duty engines, these are built to last. They're built to tow, high torque. They're very robust, and they're meant to last for hundreds of thousands of miles.
So are you suggesting that by telling people if you own a 2009 and older heavy-duty truck, 14,000 pounds, you have to now get rid of it, that you think it has a lot of life in it potentially?
Oh, for sure. I've seen some of these Super Duties that have 500,000 miles on it and more. I mean, I bet if we put out our phone calls right now to folks and said, "Hey, your 14,000 pound truck or van that you use for work, how many miles do you have?" I would be shocked if we don't have many calls that say, "Oh, I got 500,000 miles on this. I got 350,000 miles, and it's running like a dream."
I don't know about this world. I don't know about that world. I mean, I bought a Toyota because I'm hoping it goes 300,000 miles. But you're saying there's trucks that can go 500,000 miles. Let's take live calls on this as we get to know more about this legislation. Line up those phone calls for us and tell us how many miles does your 14,000 pound or greater heavy-duty truck have on it? Dave wants to know. 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. We're going to have a long line of dump trucks and dump truck drivers, tow truck drivers waiting to tell us what their odometer says. But let's get this more information about this legislation from Utah Policy's Holly Richardson, who's live with us right now on the line. Good morning, Holly.
Good morning.
What do you know about this legislation that you're paying close attention to?
Well, first of all, it's funny to hear you talk. So there are exemptions for people who are solo owners. So if you have, like I did actually back in the day, a bus parked in my driveway.
What?
That's the only one I had, and I could still drive it. The other exception is that if it's registered with the state, and we're only talking about the counties along the Wasatch Front. If it's registered there in those 4 counties along the Wasatch Front by the end of May this year, then they can continue to renew that registration. So that takes a couple of things right off the table. But I have to tell you, I drive a Toyota Sequoia right now. We have a 307,000 miles on it.
That's amazing. There's also an incentive as well to kind of turn these things in. I guess I don't know what I guess you probably have to sell it out of state if you wanted to get rid of it, or in another county that doesn't have this requirement. But it looks like there's some tax incentives attached to this legislation. Holly, do you know much about that?
Yeah, so there already were some tax incentives for these types of vehicles, but this legislation, if it passes, would increase those incentives. And it goes from the year 2026 up through 2030. So that, again, is the carrot part of this bill to say, look, if you want to trade up, you'll get this tax incentive. It's a It's a non-refundable tax credit, so it's not going to take you below zero, but it can just go straight against your taxes. So as you've mentioned, these are things like dump trucks and tow trucks and school buses, and there are other things like that, right? So Representative Cutler, this bill just barely came out. He's the sponsor, but he's got a number of co-sponsors on this bill, and he already has a Senate sponsor. So that seems likely that it's probably going to pass, even though it's coming out really late in the session.
One thing that I think is fascinating about this, I just went to KSL Classifieds, and I'm looking up some of these larger vehicles. And there's a 2001 Ford F450. It's a dump truck. It has 154,000 miles, but it's one of those over 14,000 pounds. It's 16,000 pounds. It's going for $17,000. It's a 2001 Ford F450, and it's going for $17,000. I think what may be shocking to a lot of people is these heavy-duty trucks, they are very expensive to get into. They're extremely expensive to get into. They can be well over $100,000. But they also maintain their life. They run forever, and they retain a ton of value. I mean, this is a 24-year-old dump truck that's still going for 17 grand.
Yeah.
So how do they justify, I guess, and relate? Because a lot of us, like I guarantee you, your 300,000 Sequoia is not worth $17,000 anymore.
Nope. No,
I'm sure you wish it was.
Holly,
actually, we bought it used with 250,000 miles on it, and we only paid a couple $1,000s. So,
Holly, lawmakers, at least my understanding of this is, and maybe this is a first step, but lawmakers seem to be thinking about attaching, we need to clean up our air, or at least move toward cleaning up our air along the Wasatch Front before 2034. I mean, I would argue I would love it if we could clean up our inversions by the winter of 2025, or 2026, right? I mean, we all know when those inversions hit, the air gets gritty, it gets dirty. Chewy. We have, people with asthma have problems. So I understand that this is a real issue, and it has been for a number of years. But this can't be the total solution, right? I mean, there's got to be this. Is this you perceive this to be a first step toward other regulations?
This is just one small step, right? So there are often air quality bills, and certainly there's the Clean Air Caucus on the Hill, Utah's Capitol Hill. There's not very many bills related to air quality this legislative session, but that doesn't mean that they're not looking at it and working on it. So, this is barely a small step, but there's lots of other things that they'll be looking at as well, because they know, like you've already mentioned, this is not going to make a tremendous difference, but it will make a little bit of a difference.
Holly, are there exemptions to semi-trucks? If you perhaps privately own your own semi-truck, you're running your own business, is there an exemption to semi-trucks?
It doesn't specify semi-trucks differently than a heavy-duty truck, but it does say if it's just a solo owner, one person, or even a sole proprietorship, that those are exempt from this.
Okay. Holly Richardson, thank you so much. Holly is the editor of Utah Policy. You can check out her work on their website at utahpolicy.com. We're going to take live phone calls in just a minute. Let me just reset for our listeners who are just jumping in the car right now and wondering what in the world is going on. We're talking about a new piece of legislation that popped up on Utah's Capitol Hill. The legislature is still in session for the next couple of weeks or so. And it seems like this was a first step to help clean up Utah's inversion in the air in the winter times ahead of the 2034 Winter Olympic Games. If it is approved, if it gets through the whole process, it would ban heavy-duty trucks that weigh more than 14,000 pounds that are 2009 model year or older. And it would ban those owners from registering their vehicles. And then it seems like the ban becomes more permanent by the year 2030. So it just raised all kinds of questions for us. We were curious about this legislation this morning. And then Dave brought up the point that he feels like some people might be forced to sort of give up their heavy-duty truck, their dump truck or whatever, what is perfectly fine to drive.
Contractors drive Ford F-450s or a Chevy 4500 all the time. and they're very old. I'm looking at KSL classifieds right now. I see Ford F450s all over the place. 2006 that is going for $7,000. I saw a dump truck going for $17,000 because these things run forever. They are so robust. We're taking your phone calls, 801-575-TALK. Let's jump out to Davis. Davis, it looks like you're a semi-truck driver. Oh, I know you have a ton of miles on that.
Yeah, we're pushing almost 900,000.
You're almost at 1 million miles?
That's correct, sir.
Is that rare, or that seems excessive to me.
No, these trucks will run anywhere between 1 million. Sometimes you'll see some guys that'll get 2 million miles out of them.
What's your take?
So you're talking.
What's your take initially on this legislation?
Well, it just seems like every time the industry gets going on stuff like this, our trucks are being attacked. And quite frankly, on a lot of these trucks, they're running cleaner than most of your everyday vehicles are. We're held to such high EPA standards that
yeah, because you still have to pass emissions checks. It's not like you guys get a free ride, right?
No, there's no free ride in this industry.
That is incredible. 900,000 miles. So what would that mean if you had to get rid of your nearly 1 million mile vehicle, your semi-truck, and buy a new one? What would that mean to you?
To replace the truck with what I'm currently driving today would be almost $240,000 to $300,000. It means you close it up.
It ends your business.
And an engine is a lot cheaper to replace at $65,000, $70,000 compared to $240,000 to $300,000 to replace these trucks. I mean, it just destroy this industry. A lot of guys that are out there moving America one trailer at a time, barely making ends meet now with fuel costs.
Now, there is a little bit of a carve-out. If you are a single owner and you have one vehicle and this is your business, there is a carve-out. But if you have two vehicles, then it sounds like you're going to have to trade one out and upgrade. So, sure, right. if you're just one driver, maybe you get a pass. But if you're trying to expand, I would think that would make it nearly impossible.
It would make it impossible, especially with today's inflation and everything else that you account for. It'd fold up companies left and right.
Well, thanks for sharing your story with us. We're getting texts as well. Yeah, absolutely. It's a semi-truck driver. Says his truck has almost 900,000 miles on it. And to replace it would cost about $250,000 if he was forced to replace it. I'm turning to the text line as well, Dave. This person says, our company has a 2007 Freightliner box truck. It has 439,000 miles plus on it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, almost 500,000.
So you brought up a point to this legislation. It's that these trucks, even though they're older, the legislation would specifically address 2009 or older, even though they're older than that, they may still be perfectly drivable.
Totally. And here is what bothers me more than anything, and this is what doesn't resonate with me, is you still have to pass emissions every single year with these vehicles. So the idea that these older vehicles are just polluting the air and we're, what did Holly Richardson call it, chewy? We got chewy air, right? If we're polluting the air, if it is so dangerous, if it is so toxic, then how is it passing our emissions tests? If you pass an emissions test, I don't care if you were driving a semi from 1937.
So I'm just wondering about this. I don't know for sure, but let's face it. We've all been behind that truck at the stoplight that's a commercial vehicle that's like a chimney, right? It's smoking all over our windshield. And we're like, how is that thing allowed on the road? So I wonder if this, in fact, would give an enforcement arm to take these vehicles off the road. I don't know. We're trying to reach out to the sponsor of the legislation. We've been in contact with them this morning. That they're busy on Capitol Hill, so hopefully throughout the day we'll be able to get more answers to that. But somebody asked on our text line, what about motorhomes? Our read of this legislation, just so you know, if you're driving a motorhome, I don't know how much those things weigh. They seem like they weigh a lot.
Over 14,000, a lot of them.
This would impact commercial vehicles. That's our read of this legislation. So we're thinking things like you run a tow truck business. You have some box trucks because you run a delivery business. You own a dump truck company because you haul stuff out to the dump and you haul rock around. That's our read of this legislation.
And what about farmers and ranchers in this state? You think they only have one heavy-duty truck running their ranch, running their farm? Of course, they will have multiple trucks. And these are work trucks and older, and they run forever again. And we're not just talking about the ginormous dump trucks and dirt movers, right? These are a Ford F-450 will weigh over 14,000 pounds. I mean, this is so interesting to me. I'm trying to figure out the rationale. The concern is our air quality and trying to improve air quality. But every one of these vehicles is getting emissions tested, right? Isn't the emissions test supposed to level the playing field so that just the new cars and the new vehicles, that the older vehicles are playing by the same rules, are hitting the same standards? This is shocking to me. It shocks me that there seems to be so much support from it, because this is going to be a lot of vehicles in this state.
Which tells me we need to continue to get answers from Capitol Hill. So we'll continue to reach out to legislators, get them on the air in our show in the coming days ahead next week to make sure that we clear up some of these questions and continue to get answers. And maybe we'll have somebody on the air before the end of the show. We're certainly trying that as well. Secretary of Defense ordering the U.S. military to prepare for cuts, pretty significant cuts. Dave and I went in depth on it yesterday. Today, continuing coverage in light of Utah's largest employer being Hill Air Force Base in Layton. We're going to ask a national security expert straight ahead if he has concerns about how these cuts could impact Utah.
Finally Friday.
I know you're sick of the political climate, and every day you fight a hopeless war. I know you think your girlfriend hates you in secret, but don't take it out on me. It's nothing to do with me.
With Dave and Dujanovic.
I think it's so fun to look at companies that have been around here in Utah for decades. You know, this 1954 Master Electrical Service that is still running today, with a little bit of a change. Master Electrical Service has now joined forces to be known as Mountain Home Services now.
That's right. They can work on your electrical, take care of those outlets. You need some recessed lighting. Maybe your garage light went out like mine did. They can help you with that.
Change a light bulb?
Install an EV charger. Yeah. Maybe you've been looking for a new generator, and now's the time to give them a call. They can also help you with your HVAC, your heating and air, and your plumbing.
And a fireplace as well. They just got into the fireplace business as well. And the reason they can do that is they have such expertise in so many different ways. As you were saying, Deb, electrical, HVAC, plumbing. And when you bring all this expertise together, they don't farm everything out to a bunch of third-party contractors. They do everything in-house, so you can expect this same top-end service.
All comes with that upfront pricing guarantee that Dave and I have been talking about. That means the price that they quote you at the beginning of the job is the price you pay when the job is done.
Go ahead and reach out to them on their website, mountainhomeservices.com. That's mountainhomeservices.com.
Give them a call, too, 801-543-2222. Again, 801-543-2222.
Nicotine addiction. I didn't think it could happen to one of my kids. Till it did. Just takes a single puff of a fruity-flavored vape. Kids experiment. The candy flavors make it easy to get them hooked. And the devices? They look like USB sticks, pencils, pens, even toys. Vape pens, hiding in plain sight. Even the federal government banned flavored vapes to protect kids. Last year, Utah did too. But now, $1 million worth of lobbyists are loose on Utah's Capitol Hill. Big Vape wants to buy their way back in to hooking Utah's kids with high-nicotine, candy-flavored vapes. We can't even guess the long-term harm. Don't let Big Vape win. Visit prosperousutah.org to contact your legislator today. Tell them to keep flavored vapes away from our kids. Don't listen to the lies. Flavored vapes are not child's play.
Paid for by Utah Prosperous Communities.
Hey, this is Dan, the laptop man from PC Laptops. Let me tell you an amazing story. Last week, a customer came in. They were a creative director for an agency, and they were frustrated that their old, slow computer wasn't processing their files quick enough. He had a big project due and could not afford any delays. Well, we hooked him up with one of our new, powerful 2025 desktops for only $999, and he was able to complete his project with ease. Take one home today. The new 2025 S1 desktop or SM3 laptop for only $999. You heard that right, $999. You get a blazing fast processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing storage for $999. What else do you get? Lifetime service warranty, and we have 12 months special financing on approved credit. Hurry in right now because supplies are limited, because at PC Laptops, we love you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. $999, PCLaptops.com.
Many people worry they're not making the right investment choices inside their 401ks. Did you know that you might have a little-known opportunity to add some additional investment choices to your 401k and get the help and recommendations you've been looking for? This exciting feature is called a self-directed brokerage window. And the best part? The money still stays within your 401k. Learn how the trusted advisors at Capital Wealth may be able to expand your investment portfolio. To learn more, call or text the word VISIT to 801-877-9800 or go to CapitalWealth401k.com. Improving your 401k might mean the difference of retiring a few years earlier. Let's find out. Schedule your no-cost 15-minute consultation with the Capital Wealth team today. Call or text the word VISIT to 801-877-9800 or go to CapitalWealth401k.com. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour, a bill that will require the State Board of Education to adopt ethics standards is moving through the House. Bill sponsor Representative Douglas Welton says this bill gives the board the opportunity to propose their standards for approval.
And then this body will have the ability to look at that and say, we approve, we disapprove, we approve with modifications, and then we would like to codify it in the next legislative session.
He says they do have standards they uphold, but this gives them the opportunity to adopt other best practices like annual ethics training. Over half of Americans worry recent government cuts and firing will hurt them, according to a recent poll by Reuters and Ipsos. About 58% of Americans are concerned programs like Social Security and student aid could be affected. Many who responded to the poll also agreed that the very wealthy have too much influence on the White House and that they are making money with the connection. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, the Biden administration enacted several consumer protection rules like capping bank overdraft fees and deleting medical debt on credit reports. However, the Trump administration stopped all work of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and fired the director. Economists at Bankrate say if the rules don't take effect in March as originally intended, consumers will have to pay out $20 billion a year in fees. Your money at this moment, let's see where the markets are right now. The Dow is down 376. We're at 43,799. Coming up, sunglasses will be required this weekend. Just a few clouds out there. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
If you're interested in losing some weight, not quite sure how to do it, let me tell you about the Salt Lake City Fat Loss Program. Now, I think we've all probably tried to do this on our own, where we say, you know what, I don't want to pay for a program because it's expensive. I'm just going to do it on myself, do it on my own. And then what happens? We eject. We don't stick with it, and then we don't see the big results, and then we have to re-motivate ourselves again. What I've noticed is when I paid for the Salt Lake City Fat Loss Program is it kept me honest. And I wish that wasn't the case. I wish I had the resolve to do it on my own without having to pay somebody to help keep me accountable. But sure enough, when I did, I lost 57 pounds in 60 days, and I felt incredible. So if you're interested, go ahead and sign up for the Salt Lake City Fat Loss Program. You're going to get an extra $200 off the program right now in February, so make sure you do it right now. SLC Fat Loss is the program. Go to the website, slcfatloss.com.
I'm Rod with the Save Right team at Realty Path.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. And here's Jason Jones.
And we're still seeing the cars off the side of the road, southbound I-15 around Parrish Lane, but they're still not affecting traffic, so you're going to roll right through that stretch at this point. And in fact, everything else is looking fantastic other than trying to get into Little Cottonwood Canyon. If you want to get into Little Cottonwood Canyon this morning, you're going to need to leave yourself a bunch of extra time, because that's what it's going to take. Wasatch Boulevard, 9400 South, they're both backed up for a long stretch at this point. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
Let's look at the weather forecast. A high today of 40 degrees, 43 tomorrow, 57 on Monday. Right now it's cloudy and 32 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, the Secretary of Defense ordering military leaders to prepare for significant budget cuts. And we are in pursuit of answers to what this could mean, might mean, may not even mean to our very own Hill Air Force Base here in Utah. It has been a gem for many years in terms of economic impact in Utah. We came up with some data yesterday, Dave, that put it in the $11 billion range of economic impact for the area. Jobs. It employs thousands of people, both active duty military and civilians. But we don't know, and I continue to emphasize this, if these cuts will impact Hill Air Force Base at all. But I think it's important we start asking that question.
Number one, I'm absolutely shocked that this administration is cutting the budget. This has been absolutely a non-starter for Republicans for a very long time. In fact, I remember looking at the New York Times recently. They were trying to figure out what it would take to reduce or get rid of the $36 trillion in national debt. And they had a million different charts. But one of the charts was, this is how you could do it without cutting a single penny in military spending. They had a special section that said, well, let's just assume we don't even touch the military. This is what it would take. So to hear Elon Musk, to hear the president looking at the military and their $850 billion a year budget, it tells me a couple things. Number one, they're not afraid of making the hard decisions. And number two, they're looking at everybody and everything.
We know that Hill Air Force Base survived a potential base closure round back in the 90s. Okay, they survived the call to close down bases, and other bases across the nation got closed during the 90s, during the Base Realignment Commission meetings. They made that decision to close other bases. There were impacts to Utah, but not in the way that other bases closed down, not to Hill Air Force Base, certainly not to Hill Air Force Base. So we've saved the base before. And we don't know what's going to come of these cuts now. It might be it might just be cutting a unit. It might be cutting a few civilian employees. It might be nothing at all. We just don't know. Ryan Vogel, he's the director for the Center of National Security Studies at Utah Valley University. I know it's just speculation at this point, Ryan, but let's talk about what you think this could mean in terms of impact to Utah, if anything.
Yeah, great question. And actually, you covered a lot of the things that I think are important points to consider when you're, looking at this whole big picture. $850 billion defense budget. I also am extremely surprised that Republicans in the administration in particular are talking about cuts, particularly because during the campaign they were talking about increasing defense spending. The House Republicans had already submitted a spending bill that was a major increase in defense spending, and the Trump administration had signaled its support for it. Only a day later, they changed position and started talking about these major cuts. And the cuts are significant, as you noted, 8% each year for 5 years. That's a significant cut of the defense budget. The thing that I think helps at least us here in Utah have some comfort is that the exemptions that they've made for things that they're including are the kinds of things that are a focal point at Hill Air Force Base, and in particular the nuclear mission. So because Hill Air Force Base has a strategic and critical focal point, I think Hill Air Force Base is going to be more protected. Now, you never know how things are going to go. You can never have certainty, and especially how the administration has rolled out these cuts and the government efficiency plan that they've put together. You just really don't have a whole lot of certainty, but I would be very, very, very surprised if Hill Air Force Base was on the chopping block because of the functions that they do up there.
I would agree with you on that, Ryan, especially having covered the base closure rounds back in the 90s pretty heavily for many years. I tracked those and reported on those. Hill Air Force Base is mission critical for the United States military. We also have the Utah Test and Training Range in the West Desert, and that became another key component. I'll tell you what else I noted back in the 90s is it really did take a champion to fight for our local military facilities here back in D.C., and we had that in Representative Jim Hansen at the time. I worked with him very closely, and I mean, he would take my calls back in his own office from the newsroom desk here in Utah, and I talked to him directly all the time. He was very passionate about protecting our military installations to the best that he could, but he fought. We kept Hill Air Force Base when it was on the potential for being shut down. So I think it's really critical that we have that champion on behalf of our military here in Utah back in D.C. And I'm curious if Senator John Curtis will step up for that role. He was just at Hill Air Force Base last week touring it, and here's what he said.
I had an amazing morning today at Hill Air Force Base, and as you know, it's such an important part of our economy here in Utah, but more importantly, our national defense, their work on the Sentinel program, the F-35, and so many other things they do here. I'm walking away with this incredible impression of an organization that knows what they're doing, knows what their mission is, and I'll sleep better at night because of it. Thanks to everybody at Hill Air Force Base. And all
Ryan, everybody loves cuts. Everybody likes to save a dollar until it's your dollar or it's your cut.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And I think that it is very important that we have a champion. I know that, we've had congressmen and senators. I know I worked in Senator Hatch's office for a time, and he was always very laser focused on protecting and bolstering the support for Hill Air Force Base. I would expect that John Curtis would probably take up that mantle. And you have others. Blake Moore, I know, is very focused on these things as well. I could see Burgess Owens taking this as a priority for himself as well. So I think you'll see people step up to that because, like you guys have noted, this is a critical thing for Utah. It's also an incredibly important part of our defense infrastructure. But for Utah, for our delegation, this has got to be a really high priority.
There are a couple things that stand out to me. Number one, that the Pentagon, the military, has failed 7 straight audits. They keep failing audits. They can't account for things. And then we also have 78 F-35 Lightning IIs, which are the most expensive aircraft in the world. It's $100 million per aircraft. It costs $35,000 per hour to fly. I mean, you can't help, if you're talking about budget cuts, you usually look at the most expensive things, and there's nothing more expensive than the F-35.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And I remember working at the Defense Department and going through those internal budget reviews and actually recommending that we discontinue certain things, like I believe the F-35 was on that list, only for Congress to tell us, no, you're going to keep getting that because it was critical to their districts, right? The things were built in their districts, or, components of it were built in their district. So, the idea of a cut to try to take away unnecessary spending or things that we just don't need or are not priorities for us anymore is actually probably a helpful thing. It's just making sure that we make the right cut. So, that's what I think everyone is looking for right now. Are these cuts going to be the things that we've really needed for decades, to be able to complete a successful audit and to be able to, balance that defense budget? Or are they going to be targeted at things that, may not be essential but are more political targets? And so we'll wait and see how that goes up.
Ryan Vogel, thank you so much for joining us, Director of Center of National Security Studies at UVU.
Yeah, another story that we're going to, of course, keep a very close eye on here with our team of reporters and producers. Straight ahead, you might remember, if you were with us yesterday, that I took a swing at ways to nickel and dime your way to an almost inflation-proof family budget. Well, next, Dave's up to bat with his list of long-term ways to beat rising costs.
I'm Rod with the Save Right team at Realty Path. I also own Save Right Mortgage. When building this new and disruptive business model, my attorney said, quote, "You'll rock the boat and make your competitors mad. There's no way they can compete with the value Save Right offers home buyers." She's right. Other real estate agents and mortgage lenders can't compete with Save Right. However, Utah home buyers love Save Right. Save Right home buyers get bankbuster loans with below market interest rates. Save Right clients buy bigger, nicer homes. Their monthly payments are hundreds less. Bankbuster loans save home buyers hundreds of thousands in interest. Start with a rate in the twos. Call 801-APPROVE or visit SaveRight.com. Start with a rate in the twos. Call 801-APPROVE or visit SaveRight.com.
If there's a problem during your siding, gutter, or window installation project, most contractors will try to hide it, ignore it, or blame someone else. It's called passing the buck or turning a blind eye, or my favorite, finger pointing. My question is, where is the accountability? Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and look, sometimes problems just happen, no matter who you hire. Maybe the wrong color siding gets delivered, despite the order being placed perfectly. Or maybe a downspout gets cut short. Honestly, it could be anything. At RGS Exteriors, mistakes are rare. But if something goes wrong, I can absolutely, positively, 100% guarantee you we'll never hide it, and we'll never pass the buck. We'll make certain everything turns out right for you. That's people over profits. That's the RGS Exteriors way. For a free estimate on siding, gutters, or windows, call 801-280-3110, rgsexteriors.com, rgsexteriors.com.
Dave and Dujanovic. Right on the money. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, Dave and I have been going in depth the last couple of days on ways to almost inflation-proof your budget. I mean, inflation can get away from us, as we've learned. So we're working on ways to nickel and dime our way to a better family budget. I came up with some short-term, immediate things that you can do that don't take a lot of heavy lifting. And a couple of those examples I brought up yesterday, Dave. We talked to Matt Gephardt, KSL 5 television investigative reporter. He actually broke down how little it costs to make your own laundry soap. It's like 3.5 cents a load. If you want to make your own, there's recipes all over the web.
Versus my 40-cent Tide Pod. Yeah.
Versus your Tide Pods.
Yeah.
And then I talked about, people on comment boards saying things like, I stopped using dryer sheets. I stopped using fabric softeners. I saw one woman say, I use dryer sheets, but I cut them in half and they work just as well as the whole. So I save money. So I think people are hungry for ways. And speaking of hungry, I also mentioned that if you bake your own birthday cake, or your family member's birthday cake. I mean, I'm always baking my own birthday cake, and I was like, oh, that's kind of sad. But it's $3.50 if you go to the bakery. We want to support our local bakeries, but still, let's face it, it can be, $15, $20. So it saves a significant amount of money baking your own birthday cake. You're going to give us a list of more like long-term goals that we can tackle to make our way to a better budget.
These ones can be difficult because you don't get the immediate rewards, right? It's long-term. It might take several months or several years to make sense financially, but in the long term, then they'll make a ton of sense. So let me give you a couple different examples. Solar panels.
Okay.
Energy is a great example. Solar panels very well may save you a lot of money in the long term, not in the short term, because you got to come up with the upfront price to pay for the solar panels, to have the installation come in, and then you're saving several $100s a month. Well, the average break even of solar panels is 7 to 10 years. Well, if you're looking at a 20-year plan, then this makes a lot of sense, but it may not make sense in the short term. So when we're talking about inflation busting, that is a very delicate thing to balance, is to say, okay, is this going to be so stinging in the short term that it's not even possible, or can I absorb some of this pain right now because I know over 20 years it's going to make a ton of sense?
Okay, but solar panels can be tens of thousands of dollars in upfront costs. I know you know that.
Yeah.
So you have to make the decision as to whether that's worth it. You understand all the regulations in your area, because we know we've heard from people that, gosh, they're not saving as much because they're still using some electricity and that kind of thing. So that is research heavy and financially a big cost up front.
And this is a great difference between short-term inflation busting and long-term inflation busting. You have to do far more homework with the long-term inflation busting because everybody's life is so much different. If I make my own laundry detergent and I don't like it, I'm out $20,
I agree.
right? I don't want to be out $20,000 because solar panels were a bad thing for me.
Right. You have to have the stamina to be able to do that. So I like that. That's great. Okay, what's your next tip?
Okay, number 2, move.
Oh, I did that.
You and I both did this.
It's a lot of work.
And I'm going to be honest, I may have stole your thunder a little bit because you moved, and it got me thinking, wow, should I move? Now, here's the difference. And this is very, very specific, I guess, maybe to our age group. So middle age, the average age of downsizing. So I'm talking about moving to downsize. The average age of the downsizer is 59 years old. So you moved kind of in that ballpark. You're 55, maybe
55.
So we moved when I was 48. So I moved probably a little more than a decade than is normal. And when we downsized, and you can't cheat, folks. If you're going to move, you can't call it a downsize and then actually get a more expensive home. To downsize, you have to actually get something for less than what you sold your house for, right? That's what downsizing, that completely changed our finances. Because we were able to cash out on a lot of the equity. We moved into a house that was cheaper than what we sold it for. So it completely changed our finances. But I wonder how many people in their 40s who've maybe been in their house for 15, 20 years think, you know what?
It's time. Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to admit. It's time. I would say this also. I owned an older home. A lot of people on the Wasatch Front owned older homes, right? Especially if you don't live on the south end of the valley. And older homes cost a lot of money to maintain, right? You're fixing old infrastructure. You maybe need to redo the sprinkler system. I'm just throwing some things out there. Single pane windows don't hold winter at bay.
Right.
So I had upgraded and updated my home significantly, but I look at this newer home. It was built 5 years ago or so, 6 years ago. I don't have to nickel and dime my way through repairs.
Yes.
Right. I mean, there are going to be some repairs. Naturally, I'm used to that. I've been a homeowner for a very, very long time. I know that homes come with repairs. That's just how it is. But it just felt to me like this was an easier lifestyle for me. I now have an HOA payment, which some people are like, ugh, right? But I like it because I don't have to spend money on the yard and keep up the yard. So there are other benefits depending on what you decide to do with that. I like that as one of your long-term options to, a better budget.
And we moved even with a kid still at home. Sometimes we think, I'm not going to move until all my kids are graduated. We moved with a 14-year-old, and he's been adjusting great so far. But again, everyone's individual. Here's my final tip. An EV purchase. I wanted to look, and I've consciously been paying very close attention to my gas savings. I bought a used EV. It was for $17,000. I got a $4,000 used car credit. That was a federal tax credit that you got. So really, I purchased the EV for $13,000. I've put in 18 months 25,000 miles on this vehicle.
Oh wow!
I am driving it.
Yeah.
We're driving it because it is incredible not to pay for gas. I have saved $3,500 in gas over 18 months. $3,500 in gas. And then I just realized, do you know what else I saved? No oil changes. I haven't changed the oil once in my electric vehicle because it doesn't need. There is no oil to change. That saved me $350. So in 18 months, I've saved almost $4,000 in just oil changes and gas.
That's incredible. That's another good, if you want to go in that direction. Some people are a little concerned about having range anxiety, right?
For
I know
sure.
you've dealt with that,
Yep.
right? You got to quickly find a charging station. And I guess that could factor into it as well, right? The EV charging stations, you might have to pay at those pumps.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if you have a charger at your house, it's going to cost more. You've got to take a million things into account. I will tell you, I can charge my vehicle at work, and I have charged for 18 months my vehicle at work. So essentially it's cost me nothing at home. And not everyone has that opportunity, but I have saved so much money. Again, I had to buy a used vehicle, but I've saved a ton in gas.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
I have a brand new garage door, and I forgot how much I despise my old garage door that would rarely work, that had all sorts of issues. Well, in part because I completely and totally neglected it for 20 years. I never serviced it. I never had anybody look at it or rebalance it or check on the health of it because I didn't know I was supposed to. But I learned you can do that with Advanced Garage Doors.
Yeah, Advanced Garage Doors has certified technicians who are available 24/7 with same-day service. So if you run into a problem, when it's inconvenient, like maybe after business hours, that's fine. Give them a call. They want to send out their certified technicians to take a look at what's going on.
I chuckle because any garage door or motor that is installed by Advanced Garage Door comes with a free inspection and tune-up. Not just once during your lifetime, once a year you get that free inspection and tune-up to make sure that it's balanced, to make sure that it's rolling smoothly and quietly.
And you can design that dream garage door right on their website. And make sure you check this out as well because financing is available.
200,000 cycle rollers. There you go. So if you use it a lot, like my family does, 200,000 cycle rollers. Make sure you reach out to Advanced Garage Doors by going to their website, advanced-door.com, advanced-door.com.
Or you can call them, 801-989-3667. That number again, 801-989-DOOR.
Discover the timeless value at Duke's Jewelers, a local treasure since 1948. Whether you're searching for a unique engagement ring or need expert watch repair, Duke's has been serving the community for over 75 years. It's the perfect time to visit and explore the wide selection of custom designs and quality gemstones. The skilled designers at Dukes can bring your dream piece to life, while experienced jewelers handle repairs and modifications in-house. Dukes Jewelers takes pride in value pricing, ensuring you receive the best prices every day. Need an appraisal? The Dukes Jewelers AGS certified gemologist is here to help. Whether it's hand or machine engraving, or redesigning old favorites into something new, get personalized service for every occasion. Visit Dukes Jewelers and experience the difference of locally operated expertise and dedication. Dukes Jewelers in Springfield, Utah.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with a Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Hi, welcome to Staples. Hi, I hear Staples can print it all for my business. Oh, if you can think it, Staples can print it, and will beat any print quote. Oh, great. I'm thinking new brochures and yard signs. No problem. I'm thinking calendars, t-shirts, and pens. Totally. I'm thinking Staples is the place for printing. I thought you might think that.
Right now at Staples, get up to $250 off your print purchase. Ends 4/5 exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for offer details. Price match guarantee valid in store and staples.com/print. Visit staples.com/price match for details.
If you've ever experienced running out of hot water before your shower was done or hard water spots on dishes and fixtures, I've got a deal you might be interested in. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and you probably already know that a tankless water heater and a water softener solve both issues. If you've ever thought about looking into getting a tankless water heater, here's the deal I was talking about. Through the end of February, we're including a free water softener with every new tankless water heater we install. The best part of this deal might be that you never have to worry about being the last one to the shower again, or that you don't have to waste the money keeping 40 to 50 gallons of water hot 24/7. To take advantage of this deal, call Any Hour Services before the end of February. The visit's free and there's no obligation to buy. If you decide to have us install a new tankless water heater, we'll throw in the water softener for free. That's right, a free water softener when you purchase a tankless water heater. Pick up the phone and call Any Hour Services right now for all the details. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The source is where we get our...
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour, all the charges against a former therapist accused of ritualistic child sex abuse have been dropped in Utah County. KSL News Radio's Alessandra Gurr reports.
A few years ago, former therapist David Hamblin was accused of sexually abusing children in the 80s. This week, Utah state attorneys filed a motion to dismiss the charges due to concerns about the evidence and the information that the prosecution unintentionally withheld for years. Legal documents show that interviews with an alleged victim and her parents, as well as a supplemental police report, were withheld and not given to the defense until this month. The state says in the report that they do not know why this information was not given 3 years ago. A district court in Utah County granted the motion to dismiss the case and the 6 charges Hamblin was facing.
Hamblin's case is dropped in Utah County, but he is still facing charges of sexual abuse involving a child in San Pete County. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The suspect accused of shooting and killing the United Healthcare CEO is back in court in New York today. It's Luigi Mangione's first court appearance since December.
Mangione has garnered a massive wave of popularity, this week issuing his first statement through a website created by his defense team, saying the support has transcended political, racial, and even class divisions. And donations continue to pour into his defense fund, which has now raised more than $500,000.
ABC's Trevor Alt reporting the hearing today could result in a trial date being set. Your money at this moment, the Dow is off 370 points now. That's 0.8%. We're at 43,804. Coming up, dry and warmer weather on the way. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
Between all the holiday parties,
weekend tailgates,
And family get-togethers.
We've been overindulging a little more than usual over the holidays. But now, we are starting the new year off on a healthier note by taking Active Liver supplements from New Nordic every day.
Active Liver contains a powerful blend of turmeric, milk thistle, and globe artichoke extract, all natural ingredients that help protect the liver so that it can protect you from toxins. It's like giving my body a daily detox. I've never felt better, and my energy is through the roof.
And my doctor is already impressed with how much better my numbers are looking. So if better health, more energy, and detoxing your body are some of your priorities this year, get Active Liver today and start the year off knowing you're giving your liver some well-deserved relief.
Active Liver is available in both tablets and as a delicious gummy. You can find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
It's the movie show, guys. Andy Farnsworth and Steve Sales. We're broadcasting live today from My Hearing Centers in about an hour when the movie show gets started. But we're joined now by Matt Deering from
Professor Matt Deering.
Professor Matt Deering, who looks as sharp as we've ever seen him.
Yeah, my mom was a professor. She was a professor down at BYU.
Then
so
that's how you
now
know.
I'm an imposter for my mom, I guess.
Well, Matt's here because if he wants you to try out the latest and greatest in hearing aid technology through the team here at My Hearing Centers. Matt, what is the latest and greatest?
The latest, greatest technology is the Signia Charge and Go iX. We've talked about this for a couple months now. Still having some really, really good success.
So it's old now, 2 months.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, is that movie terms? Are we old now?
Technology moves fast.
Yeah.
It does.
Darn it. Well, there's more to come, I'm sure.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
But the Signia iX, great hearing aid. I was just talking about it earlier today, too. The reality is we've got the ability now to track people in space, and I think not outer space, but as they move around.
I bet they could do that too.
That'd be pretty cool. As they move around an area, the hearing aid recognizes that they're moving and talking, and so you don't get the gaps. Like current hearing aids, if someone moves, you're kind of like, oh, I got to reposition myself so I can talk to them. I got that focused beam looking at them. But no, the hearing aids, these ones track them in space, so you can have a normal conversation, move around the kitchen, move around the golf course, whatever you're doing, and without any kind of weird interruptions.
That is so amazing.
It's really cool, the technology. So one of the great things about coming to My Hearing Centers is that you guys always do a deal for KSL and Movie Show listeners.
That's right.
And so what's the deal today, Matt?
What is the deal today?
What is the deal?
Right. Oh, that's a good Seinfeld episode. What we're doing today is we're looking for people that have hearing problems. So whether it's yourself or your loved one, we want you to come in for a free hearing evaluation, verify that you have a hearing loss that can be helped with hearing aids, and then try these hearing aids risk-free for 30 days. At the end of the 30 days, we'll give you a gift card to Red Lobster and Olive Garden as a thank you. And if you call right now and schedule that evaluation, again, for yourself or a loved one, we'll put you into a drawing for a free set of hearing aids.
So free evaluation, free test. You get, if you complete all the way through it, you get free dinner. And if you call during the movie show, you'll get entered to win a free pair of Charge and Go iX hearing aids. So this is what you got to do. You got to call 801-701-1629. Set up that appointment for you or a loved one with My Hearing Centers.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. And here's Jason Jones.
Well, I just watched the tow truck and the other cars that were involved in the accident southbound I-15 and Parish Lane drive off, so that accident's gone. You don't have to worry about that anymore. It was never really causing any delays to begin with, so that's a good thing. If you are trying to get into Little Cottonwood at this point in Canyon, that is, it's going to take you some extra time, although not nearly as long as just about half an hour ago. The delays are starting to alleviate at least somewhat along Wasatch Boulevard, also 9400 South, headed up into the canyon there. Common Spirit, hospitals, clinics, and caregivers, all connected to advanced healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
Let's get a look at the forecast. Today we'll have a few clouds and 40 degrees, 43 for a high tomorrow. We get up to 57 by Monday. Right now it's 32 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Dave and Dujanovic, special coverage of the top national story.
We're going to continue our conversation about electric vehicles. Dave's big into them because he bought one. And it's just told us while we're talking about ways to bust inflation and deal with saving money in the family budget that his EV has saved him $3,500 since he started driving it, a year and a half ago, in gas. Also saving him money in oil changes. That makes sense because it doesn't require oil changes. But I am curious, like, what the future looks like for EVs. I see headlines that say EV sales are dropping. I see other headlines that say President Trump is trying to halt EV charging stations from being built out, which the Biden administration put in place. And then I also wonder about this, and we're going to also tackle this. Charging up at EV stations, how much it costs and how safe it is? Because I think of these things being maybe in the middle of nowhere, not a typical gas station. So lots of things we want to tackle in the next 30 minutes in this special half hour.
Yeah, the safety concern was something I'd never even thought about until a Utah company contacted us and walked us through some of the potential dangers that you could see while charging your EV. We'll walk you through that. But let me go back to these charging stations, Debbie, because back in 2021, one of the huge pushes from the Biden administration was to build this network of charging stations across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Even here in Utah, we have this plan that there's a charging station at least every 50 miles along I-15. Now, the Biden administration set aside $5 billion for this in funds you could request to build these charging stations. $5 billion. They wanted to build 500,000 across the country. As of July, you know how many they had built? In 3 years, they had built 7. The goal was 500,000. They built 7. And Senator Jeff Merkley, a Democrat, just obliterated the administration for this. So frustrated that it had taken so long, that they'd been so slow rolling this out. And now the Trump administration is looking at that, saying, why are we building charging stations in the first place? We don't build gas stations. Let's let the private sector build EV stations if they want. So they're trying to claw back that money.
Claw back the money. We don't know if they can do that. But it does look like, and that's one of the questions that the Associated Press raised in their coverage of that, is that can they claw back the money once it's been Congress has allocated. Yeah. Thank you for that word. Allocated by Congress. But in general, I mean, you've really taken to these your electric vehicle, which surprised me because you did not strike me as an EV guy.
I was not the EV guy. I call myself the reluctant tree hugger because I do a lot of green things apparently, and I do them for probably all the wrong reasons. I bought an electric vehicle straight up to save on gas. This was back when gas was $4 a gallon. I started looking at it, and I thought, man, is there a way that I can cut, the budget, save some money? And the math just started working out for me that what I was spending in gas a month would allow me to buy an electric vehicle. So I'd upgrade, I would buy, and then in the long term, it would save me more money than the gas was costing me. So I just made a strict financial decision. And over 18 months, Debbie, it has turned out even better than I had anticipated. I've saved even more money than I expected.
And remind us how much that was.
$3,500
on charging.
Yeah, so I've done I put about 25,000 miles in a year and a half, which is significant because we drive it. I'm able to charge my vehicle at work. A lot of work companies offer this as a benefit, so to speak. And so I just charge my battery here at work, and so I'm basically driving energy free.
But if you had to charge it at home, that would probably add to your electric bill.
Yeah, and it's tricky to track it that way.
I bet it would be.
Because it just gets gobbled up with running the vacuum, running your washer, dryer, your refrigerator. So it's very difficult to see the difference if I am charging it at home, which I do very rarely. But I will just tell you this: I haven't noticed a huge jump in my bill at home.
But I do notice, Dave, when I get my electric bill, if I look at the whole thing, it breaks down when I'm spending on appliances and other types of thing, like something that's always on, like a light. It'll break that down. So I wonder if people who do have EV chargers at home are able to kind of parse through that and figure out how much they're paying each month. I don't.
The Tesla does this. It breaks it down for you.
Okay. But you don't generally charge up at EV stations.
I have a few times.
Okay,
yeah, not very often.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, number one, the one time I basically ran out of mileage. I was trying to find a high-speed charger because there's two kind of chargers. There's the slow charger that you can plug in 8 hours later, 10 hours later, it'll charge up your vehicle. And then you have the supercharger that you can plug in, and in 15 minutes, you'll get half a tank, so to speak. You'll get half a tank or 3/4 of a tank. So it's a supercharger. That one costs, but it was the one time I did it, it cost me $5. It was very affordable. It's subsidized, right? So I understand that, but it was very affordable. But trying to find one was scary because I drove around. I made 6 or 7 different stops at EV charging stations to try to find a supercharger, because I didn't have 8 hours to sit around and wait. I needed the supercharger. And I drove around to 6 or 7 different charging stations until I finally found one.
I remember this well because
it was working.
Because we were together on a live remote that day. I think this was the day, and you called me. And you said, Deb, I'm in a jam. And I'm like, I got
6 miles remaining.
I got you, just like the time your tire went flat on I-15. Where do I need to drive to pick you up? When can I carry your car somewhere so you're
trunk.
safe? Amanda Richards and Craig Peeler, both with this company called EVject, on the line. We know you guys are big into EVs because you've actually invented a product that Dave took a close look at not too long ago to make it safer when people like Dave charge up at these stations. Dave, you want to set the scene for us before we start talking to Amanda and Craig?
Okay, so one of the concerns I'd never even thought about is what happens if you're charging on one of these EV stations? What happens if you're charging and then what you typically do, you plug in, then you just sit in your vehicle and you play, Candy Crush or something. You're just
killing time. It's kind of like at a gas
right?
station. If it's cold outside, I jump in my car and I close the door.
Yeah, but unlike a gas station that takes 2 or 3 minutes to fill up, you need to fill up for at least 15, 20 minutes or so to charge up with an EV. So you're sitting in your car. So you sit down. Well, what happens if somebody approaches you? What if somebody scary starts knocking on your door? What do? Do you just drive away?
I don't know.
You would think normally you just drive away.
I would.
Right?
I mean, at a gas station, I think the gas, does the gas nozzle detach automatically at the gas station?
It can, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got a security
at a regular
feature
gas
there.
station.
You don't have that with an EV charger.
Oh, okay.
You can't just drive away. In fact, the vehicle itself, the electric vehicle, won't allow you, if you're plugged in, to even drive the vehicle. You can't throw it into to drive and just drive out if something scary starts happening.
I did not know that, so I'd be stuck.
So you're stuck. So if someone is pounding on your door and saying, open up, you don't even have the option to drive away. And that is something that I really hadn't thought about. So this company, EVject, created an apparatus that basically you plug into your charging port that allows you, if something goes down, to be able to drive away and disconnect from the charging station. And it's
a safety feature. It's a safety mechanism.
Feature.
Yeah.
It's a little. You just plug it into the outlet.
It reminds me of like a phone charger. Yeah, I saw
a breakaway
video
phone
of
charger.
it. I know we put together a video of this that's going to land on our KSL News Radio Facebook page and YouTube channels. But let's get Amanda and Craig into the conversation, both with EVject. You guys invented this?
Yeah, so we've had a lot of concerns with safety and accessibility and so forth with charging stations, and Craig and his partner Eric invented this wonderful device that allows for safety and security for whatever reason if you feel threatened at a charging station.
Now, Amanda, you had one of these situations that concerned you.
I did. I was lucky enough to have access to a Cybertruck back in April when they were very new, and obviously got a lot of attention wherever I drove, and happened to be charging up pretty late at night. I purposely chose late at night because I didn't want to have, 45 different conversations. Hey, tell us about the truck. And so we were pretty much the only ones at the supercharger. And Craig was tired, so he tipped his seat back and started sleeping. It's midnight. And I'm sitting there, and a very old, beat-up Honda Civic with two young men in it came screeching up. They jump out of the car. They run up. Lady, that's a Cybertruck. That's a Cybertruck. Let me in your car. And my heart rate goes up. I am ready to use my EV-Ject, and Craig sits up. And as soon as they see him, they decide that they're not quite as anxious to see inside my truck as they thought they were, and jump in their car and take off. And I'm sitting there thinking, if I didn't have my EV-Ject with me, what would I do? As a woman in a parking lot, if Craig hadn't been there, if I hadn't had an EV-Ject, all I could do was sit in my car and dial 911 and wait for the police to get there if they decided that they really wanted in my truck. Now, obviously, the Cybertruck is a pretty tough car. They couldn't break their way in. I'm not going to get out of my bulletproof box to unplug my car to drive away.
And Craig, it sounds like that's what you would have to do with an EV, which is something I'm completely unaware of and unfamiliar with. So you would have to physically, Craig, get out of your truck and walk around and unplug it?
Yes. Yeah, and we've actually timed it. The average time to get out, unplug, and get back in is about 30 seconds. And that's a long time to be out and exposed and in a bad situation, whether it's a flood, a fire, or a thug nearby. It's best just to stay in your car and escape the situation altogether.
So how does the EV-Ject work? I tried to explain it a little bit, but, being the inventors, I'm sure you guys can do a better job than I can.
Yeah, so we wanted a method to remotely unplug. And our original version actually had a spring-loaded mechanism that would eject the charger out of the charge port. And that seemed okay. The problem is there's a lot of different shapes and sizes of chargers, and some of them are very heavy. And so we couldn't ensure that it would eject 100% of the time. So that's where we pivoted in our invention and decided, why don't we find a way to just make it break away? And Eric, my co-inventor, actually determined that, if you disconnect the communication pins, the EV believes it's been unplugged, because there's two terminals that are used for the high voltage, and then you have a grounding pin and then two communication pins. If you disconnect those pins, it's effectively unplugged. And so he realized all we have to do to let the car to drive is you don't have to actually unplug it. You just have to basically unplug those two pins. And so we use the mechanics that's built into every NACS port, or North American Charging Standard port, which is every Tesla. And it has a latch that locks the charger into the cable. And we use that latch to effectively flip the switch, which is like a circuit breaker. It opens those communication pins, allows the car to shift into drive, and then the device is designed to separate into two parts. And at that point, you can drive away. It separates without damaging the car or the charger, and half of our product stays on the charging wand as it hits the ground, protecting it like a helmet. And so that's the design, and we have patents on that. And any method used to separate a vehicle from a charger, because this is something that we think is important. We want to evangelize and take to the whole world, just to provide EV safety the same way we have it for gas station pump safety. They all have breakaway valves, and so we want this to become a standard.
Amanda, how much do these EV-Ject devices cost, and just in general? And then I also am curious, and I've been wondering about this since I've heard about your product. Are you concerned at all when President Trump calls for maybe a halt or a clawback of funding to install more EV chargers across the nation, that this could impact your invention and your business?
Well, Debbie, to answer your first question, sticker price is $299 for the EV-Ject, but for those who follow any sort of social media, there's always discount codes, so frequently 40-50% off. Oh. But to answer your second question, I have no concerns. I believe that the free market should be in charge of new products and new technology. I don't think that the government should be subsidizing anything. Like you said earlier, the government doesn't subsidize gas stations, and yet gas, for as many stations as there are, it's really only a few cents spread. If we can let the free market install superchargers or public chargers, I think that would be so much better. For example, you brought up the Biden, I can't remember, it's $5 billion.
Yeah.
And they put in, 20 charging stations? Seven. Yeah.
7.
Oh, I think it's 22 actual charging wands. So think of it like a pump, right?
Yeah.
If it were a gas station, they'd say 22 pumps, 7 stations.
Over 3 years.
Well, over 3 years.
Yeah.
Well, in that same time period, Tesla as a company, a private company, has rolled out their supercharging network, and they have built, Craig, help me with my numbers.
25,000
Okay.
charging wands or nozzles, 25,000 versus basically 30.
For the same price.
We
so
appreciate.
I think if we let
go ahead.
If we let the free market take over, I think people will choose what they want, and it will be more efficient and more cost effective for everyone in the long run.
Well, and it was a private company, your company, that thought of a solution to the, what if something goes down and I got to drive away and I'm plugged in? That wasn't a government contract. It was just a couple of people that thought, hey, this is a problem and let's find a solution. So Amanda and Craig, thank you so much for joining us. And we do have a video on social media. We'll tweet that out and post it on social media as well. And you can see it in action. I had a chance to meet with Amanda and Craig, and they walked us through the entire project.
What was your thoughts on it? I think it sounds like you didn't think of this as a potential issue. Like if your wife was, or even you, you might feel a little safer, but if your wife was in the car charging late at night or any time and somebody was approaching her and she was stuck, to that station.
Yeah, the things
charging.
you don't think of, right?
Right.
You don't think of this being the problem because it's not a problem with gasoline. And it's what is unique to EV charging stations. They don't have that breakaway feature that gasoline has. So I thought it was very inventive. It worked. We went through several demonstrations. So I think we went through 3 or 4 different EV jets as we were videoing, and they all worked just as advertised. So I thought it was a very interesting solution to a problem I hadn't thought of, but I think it's a legitimate concern. So we appreciate Amanda and Craig joining us. They're the owners of EV Ject. So thank you for joining us.
It's finally Friday with Dave and Dujanovic.
There in the distance, someone must have checked the WAM. Hold up, and abandoned plans for the good times, where forgotten roads take lost lives, to beautiful kids on the coast.
It's the movie show, guys. Andy Farnsworth and Steve Sales. We're broadcasting live from My Hearing Centers today, and we're joined now by Matt Deering. Matt, we've got an invitation for anybody who's over the age of what? Fill in the blank.
55.
55. If you haven't had your hearing checked, or if you're under 55 and you have any issues like, hey, I've noticed it's a little harder to understand people when I'm in a busy restaurant or someplace like that, then we have got a deal for you.
Well, if you'd like to come in for a free hearing evaluation and have your hearing tested, we have got a deal.
Free is always the best deal, in my opinion.
What we've noticed early on in our organization that people didn't want to get their hearing tested because I don't know that they want to know they have a hearing loss. Because generally they are, 1 + 1 = 2. If you have a hearing loss, you're hearing tested, you have a hearing loss, you probably need hearing aids. And not a lot of people wake up at age 8 and say, you know what, I just can't wait till I can get my first pair of hearing aids.
I'm excited to get a license at age 16 and my first pair of hearing aids
at age 55 or whatever it is, right? And that doesn't happen. So we are encouraging people, through a free evaluation to come in, see if you do have hearing loss. So we do have people come in, hey, it's some earwax, and we're able to get that fixed for them, or maybe there's another issue that's bigger that we found. We found tumors in the ear before through hearing tests, and had to send people out to go see their ENT. So it might be something worse. Generally, it's not. Most of the time, 98% of the time, it's a treatable hearing loss, and we're able to get you in and sit you down and then let you try the hearing aids risk-free for 30 days. At the end of the 30 days, we also give you a gift card to go to Olive Garden, because spaghetti and hearing go together, and give you a little treat as a thank you for even let us give the opportunity to work with you.
No, but it is interesting. You go to the Olive Garden, and that's a great chance to try out these charge and goes and really see the benefits that they offer when you're in a noisy environment and the way that they can isolate the thing you're trying to listen to.
Yeah, that's right. And I was just telling Steve, I'm going to the Hell this evening, and if you have the hearing aids, they actually
tell you to turn on the T-coil.
Yeah, the T-coil. They tune into their sound system. You get their sound system right into your ears, and do the same thing at the megaplexes. The same thing at.
Are you going to do that tonight?
Yeah. Well, no. I probably will. I could. Maybe we will.
Because it sounds so much better, doesn't it?
It's going to sound awesome. It's going to be great. And if you want to experience it yourself, give us a call. Schedule a free hearing evaluation, and we'll put you on the path to better hearing.
All this free stuff just by calling 801-701-1629 for My Hearing Centers.
This is Rod with great news for Utah homebuyers. When you hire the Save Right team of realtors at Realty Path, you get a Bank Buster loan with a fixed interest rate in the 5s. What is a Bank Buster loan? A Bank Buster loan gives you a fixed interest rate in the 5s. Bank Buster loans give you maximum buying power. Monthly payments can be up to $800 lower. Bank Buster loans can save you hundreds of thousands in mortgage interest. Get your Bank Buster loan when you hire the Save Right team of realtors to help you buy a home. Start with a rate in the 2s. Ask us how. Call 801-APPROVE or visit SaveRight.com. Get way more home for a lot less money. Get a Bank Buster loan. Call 801-APPROVE or visit SaveRight.com.
The RV party is still going on through this week only in the KZ RV Megatent at Motorsportsland's Mill Creek store. Check out hundreds of the newest RVs, all with extended event pricing. See the latest RV accessories and enjoy exciting activities including kids movie night, RV seminars, on-site radio events, yard games, food trucks, live performances by the WMCA Masters Band, Tangent, and the youth band Goose Juice. Plus, take your last chance at over $30,000 in prizes. Event sponsors include KZRV, Owned by Cummins, Suburban RV Appliances, Lion Energy, Lippert, Utah Big Game Outfitters, Equalizer, and many more. Free admission, free seminars, and free activities. Check out motorsportsland.com for details. Adventure awaits at Motorsportsland's Megatent RV event through this week only.
Let Motorsportsland help you get away.
4001 South State.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour: nearly a foot of fresh powder fell in some areas of the Wasatch Mountains yesterday, bringing 10 inches to Powder Mountain and around 9 inches to Alta and Brighton resorts. Ski Utah Director of Communications Allison Palmentier spoke on Utah's Morning News, saying this storm brought the state near average snow totals.
I think Alta ski area in particular has had about 62 inches of snow in the last 7 days.
A small storm moving in Sunday night may bring some additional moisture to the northern half of the state. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: Senator John Curtis thanked Senator Mitch McConnell for his decades of dedicated service, following McConnell's announcement yesterday that he will not seek re-election. In a post on X, Curtis says McConnell leaves an enduring legacy on the federal judiciary, ensuring highly qualified judges are appointed. Another brick-and-mortar retailer is facing financial dire straits. Forever 21 is reportedly gearing up to file for bankruptcy a second time. More from ABC's Elizabeth Schulze.
A Forever 21 spokesperson tells us it continues to explore strategic options, including a potential sale. The efforts are ongoing and no final decisions have been made. But this is a retailer that made its name offering low-cost clothing. It has struggled to win over shoppers amid competition from brands like Uniqlo and H&M, and from Chinese retailers online like Shein and Temu that can offer even lower prices.
Forever 21 is planning on closing 200 locations. Your money at this moment: the Dow is down 464 now. That's over 1%. We're at 43,712. Coming up, looks like we'll have a few clouds today, and then we start a warming trend toward the first of next week. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:32. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. And here's Jason Jones.
And we have an accident northbound I-15 approaching 114 south. It's off to the left shoulder, and actually there's a car off to the right shoulder as well. So it's kind of splitting the highway, but none of them is actually in traffic, so not really causing any delays at this point. And speaking of that, there's really no delays anywhere else along the Wasatch Front on I-15. It's looking really good. If you're headed up into the canyons, you're still going to be a little bit slow entering Little Cottonwood Canyon, and we've got those delays there in place, but they get much better as time goes on, so it's definitely some improving conditions there. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
Looks like we'll have some clouds today with a high of 40 degrees, 50 on Sunday, 57 on Monday. And right now it's 34 downtown. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Eye on the Hill 2025 special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, Dave and I have been working to get our heads wrapped around this legislation up on Capitol Hill. Sounds like it's been recently unveiled, and it deals with. It's a proposal to eventually permanently put to bed older model commercial trucks. Not in all circumstances. There is an exception. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But it's an effort, Dave, to help clean up Utah's air as we head into the 2034 Winter Olympic Games, 9 years away. Essentially, it would ban heavy-duty trucks that weigh more than 14,000 pounds. I don't know. Just by looking at a truck, if it weighs 13,500 pounds or 14,000 pounds, the model year would be 2009 and older. So it sounds like a sliver of the trucks on the road might eventually face a ban.
But I'm also reading this, and as we're discussing it, I don't see any carve-outs for semi-trucks. So if you have a small semi-truck company, and say you have 2 or 3, 4, 5 semi-trucks, and you're driving those, and they're older than 2009, are you going to be forced to purchase a brand new semi-truck? Because another thing about semi-trucks is you could get 1 million miles out of a semi-truck. We talked to a truck driver that said his has 900,000 miles.
These trucks will run anywhere between 1 million. Sometimes you'll see some guys that'll get 2 million miles out of them. Seems like every time the industry gets going on stuff like this, our trucks are being attacked, and quite frankly. So
if you're going to get 1 million miles out of it, he said what we'll do as well is if a engine goes out, I'll spend $50,000 or $60,000 to put a new engine into this older model. Is there a carve out for that? Can you just replace the engine? But this is heavy-duty trucks. This is what transports our stuff, not just our food, but our lumber, perhaps our cars, the tow trucks out there. So why are we forcing these companies to buy new vehicles?
Well, it sounds like this is a way to address air pollution inversion along the Wasatch Front. Didn't mean like a baby step, but we're still trying to get a hold of the sponsor of this legislation to figure out if there's, more in the shadows that's going to be unveiled. Because this doesn't sound like, banning a tow truck or tow trucks that are 2009 and older, that's going to clean up the dirty air that I see along the Wasatch Front. I mean, I can look at, sometimes I'm driving through these inversions, probably shouldn't be driving, probably should be staying home, and thinking, we're going to get rid of this thing. We're going to either have to get a really good windstorm or we're going to have to shovel out a mountain, because we've got 2 mountain ranges on either side, of course, of Salt Lake County. So it really traps that dirty air in the winter when we get these inversions. Now, I want to make note of this. This legislation impacts, we talked to Holly Richardson of Utah Policy, who covers the Hill. She's also a former lawmaker. She's looked over this legislation. She told us earlier in the show this impacts counties along the Wasatch Front. Okay. But I don't, this has just got to be a first step, right? It can't just be that the people that are driving the tow trucks around that are 2007 model tow trucks are going to be held responsible for our dirty inversion. I mean, those inversions get pretty thick and pretty gritty. So it can't just be that. There's got to be more to this, I think.
Maybe like, what are you thinking? Like, there's got to be more to address air, or are you saying
they can't be the only ones responsible? And didn't you say earlier, you brought up a good point, that they would have to go through emissions?
Yeah, they already go through emissions annually.
That's what brings up the question in my head. Like, well, there's got to be more to this to supplement that. But this is under consideration on Utah's Capitol Hill. Let's get a little more detail right now from KSL 5 Television's Daniel Woodruff, who does cover the Utah legislature.
A Republican in the Utah House of Representatives says he and other lawmakers are targeting heavy-duty trucking with a carrot and stick approach to try to get some of those dirtier trucks off the roads.
People want to do the right things, and sometimes they need a little push to help do the right things.
Under House Bill 525, sponsored by Representative Paul Cutler, heavy-duty trucks made in 2009 or before could not be registered along the Wasatch Front beginning in May. Only those already registered with the state could be renewed. Then in 2030, those trucks would be prohibited completely, with a few exceptions.
And this is a small thing that we can do to help improve air quality along the Wasatch Front.
The bill also offers a tax credit to help operators turn in their old trucks and buy new, cleaner ones.
We want to show progress, especially before the Olympics, clean up our air, see what we can do to improve things before then.
I reached out today to the Utah Trucking Association for their thoughts on the bill, but they told me they don't have a comment yet.
So when we're looking at these trucks, and their key here is the 14,000-pound truck, right? It could be a box truck. It could be a van, a cargo van. 14,000 pounds is not your typical truck, right? If you're driving in a Ford F-150, a Silverado 2500, that's going to fall under the 14,000 pounds. So this is truly the more heavy-duty truck. But I've seen some trucks online. I look at KSL Classifieds, and there was one Ford F-450 that was a dump truck. I mean, for lack of a better description, it's basically a dump truck. It had 150,000 miles on it. It was a 2001. It retains its value. It was still worth $17,000. That's what they were asking. So your vehicle and my vehicle, if they're 25 years old, they're worth very little. But these heavy-duty, customized, very specific work vehicles, they can maintain their value for years and years, for over 15, 20 years, because the way they're built, the durability. You can put 500,000 miles on these engines or 1 million miles on these engines.
Now, there would be an exception with this for people who own one, or for companies that own one. Like your mom and pop, tow truck company. The tow truck gets parked every night in the front yard, and you're dispatched from your home. There's an exception in this proposal that would protect you. sounds like it. But if you own two, and maybe they're year 2000, this could impact you. And if this passes, it sounds like they'll start taking action almost immediately. You can't. What was the rule? You can't register when you buy. It's an older than 2009 model. Come May, if this passes, or after if the legislation is passed and approved. So we're going to have to get a lot more details to this, because I think this has raised, quite a few questions, and we've gotten quite a few text messages today about this. Like, does this impact motorhomes? No, not from our read of the legislation. It's commercial vehicles. But we are working to get the lawmaker who's sponsoring this legislation on air with us.
And what about farmers and ranchers that might have several heavy-duty trucks? It's the family business. You're running a farm, but you're not running it on one vehicle, right? So this is why I look at it and I say, okay, if the hope is that you're going to clean up the air, 10 years from now for the Olympics, these vehicles, are they not receiving emissions testing every single year? And if they don't pass, they don't pass, right? If they're spewing out gross exhaust and dangerous exhaust, then they don't pass the emissions. But if you have a 2001 truck that is passing the emissions, why do you have to buy a new truck now?
We'll continue to follow that. I think we've got lots of questions to get answers to. Straight ahead, it's time to check on the big movie of the week. I'm excited to hear about this one. It's called The Unbreakable Boy. Andy and Steve, up next.
It's Friday. With Dave and Dujanovic.
Paid for by government. Now is the time to fill your vault with Morgan Silver Bars. Grab your piece of America's silver legacy with this special offer. These spectacular shining silver bars featuring a crisp image of the iconic Morgan Silver Dollar, a legendary coin that has captivated collectors for generations. Call now to secure 1-ounce silver bars minted in 99.9% pure silver and made in the USA. Don't miss out on this special deal, regularly priced at $49.95, but for a limited time, only $39.95. Save $10 per silver bar. Limit of 25 bars per customer. The more you buy, the more you save. Up to $250 in savings and free shipping on every order. Plus, with qualifying orders, you'll receive a free Morgan Silver Dollar. That's a $59.95 value, free. Call 1-800-937-4707 now to secure your 1-ounce Morgan Silver Bars for only $39.95. That's 1-800-937-4707.
Can we talk about something difficult to discuss? Are you going through a difficult financial time? You have equity in your home, but nobody can help? American Home Loans has created the Bridge Loan Program to use your equity regardless of your credit at this time. The Bridge Loan can be used to pay debts, collections, IRS liens, divorce settlements, or home improvements. Call at 801-262-2221. That's 262-2221. This loan creates a bridge between now and a much brighter future. After COVID, one of their clients had over $85,000 in credit cards. Their scores were too low to borrow on their home. American Home Loans was able to save them $2,000 a month. And after 8 months, they qualified for a conventional loan and lowered their payments. The consultation is free and confidential. Please call them and see what they can do for you. The number is 801-262-2221. It's 262-2221, or go to AmericanHomeLoans.com. AmericanHomeLoans.com. NMLS 245422, Equal Housing Lender.
Dave, and Dujanovic. The following preview has been rated G and is appropriate for all audiences.
I saw the trailer to this one months and months ago. I was like, oh, it feels like it's forever away. And now all of a sudden, here we are. The Unbreakable Boy is the big movie of the week. And I am really looking forward to hearing about this movie. You guys, Andy, Steve, you both watched it. Hello?
We did like it.
You did good.
I think
By
we
the way,
both
he's
are
quite
around.
breakable.
Yes, that's kind of. Are we going to play a clip? Like, I just don't want to start talking and then have a clip play over me.
Let's see. Do we have a clip of this, guys?
Oh, man. I have a lizard named Molly and a killer hat collection. When I meet people, I tell them everything. Oh, yeah. I'm also autistic.
This is not what I thought it was going to be like. I feel like I'm failing every day, and the harder I try, the worse I do.
Honey, your mistakes don't define you. How you heal does.
I'm crying.
It's kind of designed that way. But you know what? I like a movie like this every so often. You know, as I was watching it, I was like, wow, this is, I mean, it tackles some heavy stuff, but it was nice to feel like a movie that I could watch with the family, because a lot of the movies that I watch for the movie show, I watch and then I'm like, okay, now which of my kids do I think would be okay to watch this? But this was one right from the beginning. I was like, oh, we could all watch this together.
So if I'm remembering the trailer, he has a rare bone disease and he also has autism.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, he's got brittle bone disease. So that's kind of the irony of the title Unbreakable, is his body's very breakable.
It's osteogenesis imperfecta.
Okay.
That's what that is.
Dominus ominous.
I'm looking for something to do this weekend when Sunday rolls around.
there you go.
Is this it?
This is.
Sunday
I think
afternoon
it
movie?
is. So Zachary Levi plays the dad of this family. So basically, this family doesn't start in a very orthodox way. You know, the mom and the dad meet, and they go
really
out,
meet.
and then they meet, and then they have a kid before they were expecting it. But as they go along, they find out, you know, each one finds out about the other, but they both are committed to helping this kid. Well, they don't know at first that he's got this brittle bone disease, although mom has it to a certain extent.
Something maybe she would have brought up.
She did bring up. She brought it up early. She's like, I can't really do sports because I have this thing and I could break. But then she brings up when she's pregnant, oh, by the way, this is a hereditary thing, so it might happen. Well,
that's true.
At any rate, they need to use the forceps to birth him. And but then he's like super colicky, and they find out that, oh, he has the brittle bone disease worse than mom. And so then that changes everything.
Yeah, but this poor kid's been crying since birth, and because he cracked
Just
two
so
ribs
much
coming out of mom.
Yeah.
This reminds me, I mean, is this a true story, or is this
Yes.
Okay, so this is a true story. The first time I saw it was or learned about this was the M. Night Shyamalan movie Unbreakable, where where Samuel L. Jackson had the same disease.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in this case, this is really about, it's called Unbreakable because as they all navigate their own personal challenges, including Austin, who's played by Jacob Laval. If you saw 8-Bit Christmas, he was one of the kids in 8-Bit Christmas.
You realize how long ago this was shot, though? This was shot
in 2020.
Yeah.
They shot this before 8-Bit Christmas, which is ironic.
And now he's 5'10". He's like, hi there, my name is Jacob. I mean, it was unbelievable, the difference.
Oh, interesting.
But it's faith-centered and family-based, and I thought it was good.
But you know what? It goes to some dark places. I mean, Dad's a drunk.
Yeah.
Mom has a past. And so I kind of appreciated that these were genuine people. They did not, disguise the warts and all. They showed him everything that was going on. And so I kind of appreciate that when they do that.
Well, I guarantee I will be crying through the whole thing. I mean, I will cry the minute it starts. That's just how I am. I remember back in the 70s, John Travolta, you all won't remember
Bubble
this.
Boy.
Yeah, you remember that. The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. It was Dave, I think it was the year you were born it was released. But that, oh my gosh, they had some sort of an autoimmune disease. Anyway, I remember, and I was like 10 years old back then. I cried that whole entire movie. And so I know I'm in for it this weekend when I go see this. So, okay, but let's, on a brighter note, what's the question of the week, guys?
Well, again, it is a feel-good movie.
Okay.
Despite everything we've said,
Yeah.
it's a feel-good movie.
Although it does have an imaginary friend that I couldn't quite figure out. That was weird.
We literally played 7 seconds of the trailer, and I was already in tears. So, okay.
Yeah. But you will feel good, too. There'll be more happy
Oh,
tears than
the
sad
kid
tears,
is such
for
a
sure.
joy to watch.
Okay, so what is the question of the week?
All right, so it was President's Day on Monday, and so we were thinking about what should we do for our question. How about in honor of President's Day this week, what is your favorite movie where the president is a main character?
Oh,
the president of the United States is a main character.
Oh, I've got it. Absolutely. Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Slayer.
There you go. That a boy. You finally nailed one.
Okay.
That's not my...
4
Dave
score
set
and
me up for
7
failure.
zombies ago.
It's a fun one because there's a lot of movies that involve the president, but like where the president himself is the main character.
Well, it doesn't have to be the main character.
Okay.
Main character.
Okay, so I didn't get to the bottom of that question, so I just said is the president in the movie. So that's where I went. So
Okay, what's yours?
That's close enough.
Let's go.
Well,
Steve,
definitely
what's
has to be
yours?
Lincoln. I mean, that's,
Okay, there we go.
Stepped out upon the world stage now, with the fate of human dignity in our hands. Blood's been spilled to afford us this moment. Now.
All right, so Steve picks Lincoln.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you could not say Air Force One.
Air Force One, clear for takeoff. Thank you for your hospitality, Moscow.
I love Air Force One.
Is that Harrison Ford?
Harrison
Andy?
Ford is the
All
president.
right.
Not the only time he's played the president, but a close second is the gripping drama Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Here we go.
We go anywhere we want at any time.
You can do anything you want.
Excellent.
I love Bill and
I
Ted.
mean, it ends with Abraham Lincoln saying, "Party on, dudes."
Party on, dudes.
Dave got one?
Okay, so obviously, aside from Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer, that top of the list, can I choose an HBO miniseries? Because I want to.
No. We're talking movies.
All right,
Aren't
I'm
they
just still
kind of
curious.
just extended movies? Because John Adams was unbelievable.
Okay. I'll give you 1776, which was a movie in which John Adams was also excellent.
Andy, you're
William
just-
Daniels,
you're out there.
the voice of Kit.
What kind of referee are you?
Mr. Feeney from Boy
John
Meets
Adams
World.
was really good.
This is
Yeah,
shocking
but it's not a
how many of
movie.
you guys know off the tops of your heads. Honestly, this is amazing. You guys are so dialed into these movies.
What's
got
yours, Deb?
American President.
Oh, there you go.
Is that
Andrew
with Annette?
Shepard.
Is that the one with Annette Bening? Am I
Yep.
thinking of the
Yes.
right one?
And-
Because you guys will know, I won't. Where he's the only single
Michael Douglas.
president ever elected.
Yeah, Michael
Sydney
Douglas.
Ellen
Douglas?
Wade.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Oh, you knew her character?
Oh, yeah.
Holy smokes, that's
Yeah, well, it's
impressive.
That's a good movie. That would be my
Andrew
pick.
Shepard and Sydney Ellen
But there's a
Wade.
lot to choose from. It'll be interesting when our listeners start chiming in on the text line because there's a lot of movies
Oh.
where the president plays a character.
I'm going
You
to
know,
go
I
to
had-
the text line right now and see if I can cheat. and
I
see
tried
if
to
they-
get Doug to watch
yeah.
Vampire Slayer, and instead he watched Zombie Slayer, Lincoln Zombie Slayer. And he
there's
said,
more
"That
than
is-
one
That is the
Lincoln
dumbest
Slayer."
movie I've ever seen." I'm like, dude, you watched the wrong movie.
You guys, our text line is already lighting up
love
with
it.
people who are texting in their favorite movie.
White
for
House
the movie
down.
question. Yeah, movie
Oh, yeah.
question of the week. In honor of President's Day, what is your favorite movie where the president is the main character? Love it.
Thanks, gentlemen. We look forward to the movie show coming up right away.
Sometimes when our furnace stops working, it's something simple we can fix ourselves, if we only knew how. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and the next time your furnace stops working, before you call a company out to fix it, try this first. Go shut the furnace down and make sure your air filter is clean. Go around the house and make sure the vents are open and there's nothing blocking the return air. If it's been a while since you've changed the batteries in your thermostat, go ahead and do that too. Then go turn the furnace back on, and if it stays on, you're probably good. If it stops working again, you're probably going to want a technician to check it out. If you don't know one, Any Hour Services has a special offer for any homeowners listening. One of our HVAC technicians will diagnose and troubleshoot your furnace for only $29. Then they'll explain what they found and present you with repair options. And don't worry, our technicians service all brands. Call Any Hour Services and let them know you heard about this $29 troubleshooting special on the radio. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our US-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
It's the movie show, guys. Andy Farnsworth and Steve Sales. We're broadcasting live today from My Hearing Centers. And My Hearing Centers, our friends here, have a special offer today for KSL listeners. Anybody who's experiencing hearing difficulties, or if a loved one of yours is experiencing hearing difficulties, to participate and try out the latest hearing aid technology. So they got a deal going. Matt Deering joins us. Matt, you've got a deal for people who call in during the movie show, 801-701-1629. They get some free stuff right off the bat.
Yeah, well, you outline one of them with that free hearing evaluation. So you come in, we test your hearing. It's not just a simple quick screening like you got when you're in elementary school.
Do you hear the snap? Did you hear the other snap? Okay,
we're good.
It's a little more comprehensive.
A little more. And so one of the things we do is we invite your spouse, your loved one, to come into the testing with you. We'll test their hearing. We'll screen their hearing too, even if they don't think they have a hearing loss, just to see what's going on. Sometimes it reveals stuff. Kind of fun.
So come in as a pair.
Yeah, come as a pair, but we also use their voice in the test, and we do a familiar voice test, which helps us to isolate the sound of your familiar voice and identify what areas of their speech you're really having a difficult time with. We'll make those adjustments either wearing headphones, similar to what we're wearing now, or we can actually put some hearing aids in your ears right there in the office, make those adjustments and show you the difference between being able to communicate with your loved one without hearing help and with prescriptive amplification, and show the difference right there in the office. It's pretty amazing for those that have really waited a long time to do something about their hearing problem.
It is possible, if you're 55, that you haven't actually had your hearing tested since you were in grade school.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So this is a great chance to just get it checked for free. If you're 55 and older, come get it checked. Find out if there's any hearing loss. Maybe it isn't even something that requires a hearing aid. That's what you guys can tell them.
Yeah, and if you're 54 and your spouse is 58, you can come in.
Yeah, because it's an average. And if you feel like that you're having any issues hearing, then it's a good chance to just check and find out for free.
Or if somebody calls you mumbles, it's them that has the hearing problem.
We got to talk about that later. Yeah, Steve's trauma's coming to life.
Yeah, now I understand.
Yeah.
Well, but if you're called during the movie show, you'll be entered to win a free set of Charge and Go hearing aids, Charge and Go IX hearing aids, and the lifetime service that comes with it. And if you do call in, make the appointment, and go through the 30-day risk-free trial, you'll get a set. You'll get a gift card too.
Olive Garden.
801-701-1629 to take advantage of this free offer from My Hearing Centers.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Britt Johnson. KSL's top story this hour, nearly a foot of fresh powder fell in some areas of the Wasatch Mountains yesterday, bringing 10 inches to Powder Mountain and around 9 inches to Alta and Brighton resorts. Ski Utah Director of Communications Allison Palamentier spoke on Utah's Morning News, saying this storm brought the state near average snow totals.
I think Alta ski area in particular has had about 62 inches of snow in the last 7 days.
A small storm moving in Sunday night may bring some additional moisture to the northern half of the state. The Utah Avalanche Center is worried sunny skies this weekend will send people into dangerous areas. In a new news release, the center is warning people most avalanche accidents happen after a storm passes. They say people take more risks when the sun comes out and visibility is good. Experts advise traveling in groups, always carry avalanche rescue equipment, and stay away from slopes that are 30 degrees or steeper. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A significant number of people at the IRS started to get their layoff notices last night. 6,000 people at the agency laid off.
The White House will say that the impacts will not be felt in terms of the tax filing season. That's according to sources at the IRS. But this potentially could have an impact if there are any delays for people who are trying to get their tax refunds or people who are looking for assistance right now as they're filing their tax returns.
That was ABC's Karen Travers reporting from Washington. Your money at this moment, things are in the red. The Dow has lost 563 points. The S&P is off 67 points. And the NASDAQ down 283 points. Coming up, some warmer temperatures are on the way. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our U.S.-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.